Well, good afternoon, YouTube, YTPC. How you all doing? Today is Sunday, December 5th, and the second Advent. And as promised, I have a tobacco to tell you about. Kind of a first impression rather than a formal review, but I've smoked 6 bowls of this lovely We Three Kings. I think you've heard about that in a few reviews already, and it's available at least this morning on smokingpipes.com, and I think tobaccopipes.com. You can still find tins of this one. Well, I'm very comfortable here in the shed of serenity. I've got my beamer working again here. I hope you can see some of that. Playing a little very light jazz music, and I've got the most bombastic pair of slippers, which you probably can't see. Oh, there's one of them. I shall show you a better shot of that pair of slippers, the most bombastic ones I have, right here. I found out you have to have a good strong signal for the beamer to play, and you have to use something called mirroring with your iPhone and AirPlay. So it takes a bit of fiddling around to get these beamers working with YouTube, but it's all right now. What were we talking about? Oh yes, We Three Kings, Cornell and Deal tobacco. Well, this is Black Cavendish Oriental, Turkish Katarini, Turkish, and Virginia. And my sources say it's about 20% Black Cavendish and about an even split of Virginia, which is red and white Virginia, and the Oriental. Now, I think this is quite an interesting concept, because this is not technically really an aromatic. It's more like an American blend, with the variation being the Black Cavendish thrown in. Now this is quite interesting because it does have a topping of cinnamon and vanilla and allspice. I'll come on to that just shortly. And I think that's quite interesting that Cornell and Deal have done this rather sophisticated and more complex type of Christmas tobacco. And it came out in 2014, and there's some old reviews of that original, but the recipe, as far as I can see, is the same one. The We Three Kings, of course, was a carol written by an American pastor, John Henry Hopkins, based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he was part of the Episcopal Church, which is the nearest thing in America to the Church of England, and wrote that lovely song that you heard by the introduction. And I think it's actually a very clever idea and concept. So the old tobacco review of the 2014-15 version was 2.5. It wasn't, it was sort of good, but on the lowest rung of good, and described as mild medium strength, medium flavouring, taste medium, and a pleasant room note. And when I looked at those who have reviewed it, like Shane Ireland, he gave it a 3-star and called it a kind of crossover because it's the English blend with a bit of topping. Now, I think especially for those of you who don't like the heavily topped, gloopy sort of, Christmas pudding type of Christmas tobaccos, which are like potpourris and all of that, many of them are, this might appeal to you, especially if you like Orientals, because this really comes through in this tobacco. Jim Inks, for example, I don't always agree with him, but I find his reviews extremely good. Whatever his score he gives, he gave it 2.5 stars and described basically the flavours coming through from the Red Virginia's dark fruit, citrus from the Bright Virginia, and the earthy herbal flavours from the Orientals, from the Catarini. Now, the interesting thing is this about this allspice. Allspice is a berry from Mexico and Central America, which is a kind of produces a thing look like a peppercorn, but it's not exactly pepper. It's more like a pimenta with a kind of myrtle, and it was discovered by early English explorers in the early 1600s and brought to UK as a very popular and very expensive spice, which somehow combined cinnamon with vanilla to come out as clove. So that will come into what my impression was of this tobacco. When you light it up, you immediately get, when you open it up, you get very clear notes of vanilla, but a kind of different vanilla. Somehow you think, yeah, it's vanilla, but there's something else going on there, and the cinnamon, I think, already starts in the nose as a very faint touch of clove, and that makes also the room note of the smoke very, very good. It's perfect dryness right out of the tin. You don't need to do nothing, but you have to watch out what you smoke it in and how you smoke it. You should smoke it in a large pipe and don't pack it too tightly, My tendency is to do the 4-pinch method. In other words, I really try to pack a bit of extra tobacco in there and that last firm press. So you start light, pack the first pinch like a child, the second like a woman, the third like a man, and the fourth like a lumberjack. And sometimes I do that, so I was grateful for his warning, don't do that, just 3 pinches and not too heavily packed, and a decent bowl. And I think it's to do with heat management. Some Virginia in there, so and it does get easily hot if you're not careful. So what I did, and I like to do that when I start with a new tobacco, is I put it in this Yunnan meerschaum. You've seen this one before, with the spigot, nice large bowl, and the meerschaum always helps manage to control the moisture and also here in this case importantly the heat. So and the other thing is, I would say try to smoke this bowl for about an hour. Don't race it or hurry, and take it deliberately slow, especially when you're at the second half of the bowl. Go real slow, because it is sensitive, and that's actually the character of this tobacco. It's sophisticated, it's got several dimensions to offer, very pleasant, but you have to treat it real nice and careful, and then you get more out of it. And every bowl I've been better and better at doing that. By the way, my lighter is this one I got a couple of years ago. It's a Zippo Christmas lighter with of course a gas insert, and of course a Larry Blackett Father Christmas first edition Tampa. So where were we? Allspice, yes. So it's a perfect mixture. What you also notice when you look at the tobacco, there's flake in there. So the red Virginia, I think, was as a flake, and some flake pieces are quite large. It's a bit of a rough cut. I like that because I like larger pieces of tobacco, because they also help you to control the temperature a bit, and sometimes, as a flake does, it has more of those volatile flavors that have been trapped and haven't escaped in the processing and all of that. So it's a nice cut, even though it's a rough cut. It's a mixture. So I did notice in the tin note that this kind of clovey combination of the vanilla and the cinnamon, and slight very touch of the plum, if you like, coming from the Virginia. There's even a tiny chocolatey note to it, but no burley in this, of course, but gave a nice promise that this is going to be an interesting tobacco. When you start up, as I am now, in the first 10% of the bowl, my filter is filling up. Slowly the tastes are getting stronger. The first taste you get is a creamy sweetness. It's a bit like creamy toffee. That's how I would describe it. You realise it's a sweetness, there's something trying to be vanilla there, but it's different. It's got that black Cavendish influence, of course. And as you go down to, let's say, the middle of the bowl, the Orientals are rising up, and you're getting a bit of that floral, herby kind of taste, And this is where it gets really interesting, because all these flavors are starting to work with each other, and a little bit of red Virginia sweetness is creeping up, changing the dimensions of the sweetness, and a tiny little bit of fruitiness and dark fruit is influencing the nature of it. So in the middle of the smoke, after about 20 minutes or so, it gets really good. Some reviewers talked about a bitterness. I don't really pick that up. I can understand with the herbal notes, and maybe a little of the spicy dimension might, but if you get bitterness, my view is it was smoked wrong. In other words, you've got to do it slow, really take your time and do it in a large bowl, preferably a meerschaum, I would even say, and you know, do it really consciously how you smoke it. The only thing I could say is with that clovey kind of herbal thing, some people might say it's a touch of menthol. I wouldn't use that word myself. You know, but that might be where they were getting it from. And again, if you race through it, you get an intensity, but the second half of your bowl won't be much fun. You know, it'll have gotten too hot, it'll lost the flavors, and you know, even you can get a bit of tongue bite if you race with this one, because the second half of the bowl right now it's very lukewarm, no problem at all, but as it gets down to the last third of a bowl, it can get quite hot at the base, you know, so that's where you have to be careful. What I'm almost doing now is almost letting it go out and just rekindling it again, and I'm getting lovely bursts of these flavors. Some reviewers, when they were trying to say what is it like, well, of course it's like a number of other Oriental and Virginia combinations. Sun Bear was one that was mentioned. Sun Bear has a different topping, doesn't it? It has the honey and elderflower liqueur or something like that. But in the concept of the design of the blend, yes, I would agree. Sun Bear is the same concept behind the Oriental Virginia with some kind of topping. You know? You could smoke this in also the Church Warden for the cool smoke, but the Church Warden doesn't always help you control the heat in the bowl, and that's what's critical here. So it's really be careful with the tempo, and you know, then I must say I really like this one. We'll probably have one or two more relights than normal because of taking it so slow, you know, but it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. So as far as I'm concerned, my humble opinion, this does make the cut. This is my second Advent blend. It's available, and I give full credit to Cornell and Deal for trying to do something quite complex and challenging, but if you handle it the right way, you can really enjoy this tobacco. I give it maybe a 3.2 or something like that, getting into slowly the very good range out of 4 stars, you know. In case you want to look at any of the old videos, Matches did one in 2015. He didn't really like it, but again, I think, you know, that you've got to handle this the right way. Andrew Ciriliano did a very good review this year, very detailed review, and I think he hit also a lot of those same points that I made, and it's good guidance. You know, I always look at these reviews because they prepare you, you know, and help you, I think, to do it, you know, smoke it the right way. Mike Rondo also did a review of this one, and he liked it. I think like I do, you know, it definitely makes the cut to be one of the Christmas tobaccos this year. Definitely one could say that the flavor level is mild to medium. You know, it's you find these things there, but they're not intense, you know, so It's not one of those Christmas tobaccos where, you know, every flavour grabs your tongue and says, I'm here, you know. But I think that's something here for the English blend and the Oriental appreciators, that they can have now a Christmas tobacco that won't put them off and won't be any kind of medium to heavy aromatic. You know, this is, I think, rightly described perhaps as a kind of crossover. There's no Latakia in it, so it's technically not an English blend of any kind, but just for me an example of the unending opportunity to be creative with different tobaccos and subtlety. Infinite variations are possible, and of course you could think to, if for example these flavors are too light, you could add one or two other tobaccos to take your score. Let's say you might give it a 3 to a 3.5 if you want more cinnamon, or if you want a little chocolate from Burley and things like that. You could do some stacking in the bowl, or you add a little bit to the mix in the tin, you know, once you're sure that's what was missing for you. So there's always a way to take it from where it is and improve it, that you enjoy it that bit more. Number 2, a nice discovery. I'm very happy with this one. I'll probably get another tin or two for Christmases in the future, in case they don't come out with it again. At the moment, I don't think I would myself up flavors with another tobacco, but that's always a question that one would revisit. But you're certainly getting good value for money here, especially if you take the time to do a good hour smoke with the bowl. Onwards to tobacco number 3, that will be the 12th, the 3rd Advent, and that will be Kohlhase and Kopp Winter Edition, which should arrive tomorrow. I've ordered a tin, absolutely beautiful tin, and that will be something for the Europeans who can get it. Sometimes you find some of these tins getting into US suppliers, but realise not every time. So I wanted this time to do 2 that are easily available, like this one, for everyone in America, and 2 that maybe is more easily found in Europe. Well, take care everyone, look after yourselves, and start enjoying now the days towards Christmas. And I wish you a very merry and happy festive season coming up. Cheers everyone, bye bye.